Welcome everybody to the first episode of our podcast. We're going to do a quick introduction and then we'll get into it. I'm Lily. I go to Chadwick. I'm a senior.
I'm Reese. I'm also a senior and I go to Peninsula High School.
I'm Amanda. I'm also a senior at Peninsula.
I'm Aves. I'm a junior and I go to Redondo Union.
I'm Reese and I'm also a junior and I go to Redondo.
I'm Sachi and I also go to Redondo as a junior.
I'm Roy. I'm a junior and I go to Miracosta.
I'm Catherine. I'm a sophomore and I go to Vistamar.
I'm Jessica. I'm currently a junior attending West High.
My name is Logan. I am currently a senior at Vistamar School.
I'm Kareem Najjar, and I'm a senior at Redondo Union High School.
So today we want to talk about senior year. It's coming to an end for the class of 2022. And with things like graduation coming up, there are a lot of big looming questions about our future, whether it's college, careers, moving away from home, and that can bring a lot of stress. And this podcast episode is going to be dedicated to other seniors out there. And we want to discuss the struggles pertaining to what it means to be a senior during COVID, whether it's dealing with rejection, associating our self-worth with college acceptances and denials, and how it feels to lack motivation during this time of year.
Yeah, and adding on to that, we just a disclaimer, we're not necessarily here to provide answers or solutions to what we're talking about or the struggles you may be going through or that we went through. But instead, we just want to offer up our own experiences and throughout the college process. So whoever's listening doesn't feel alone and can hear our stories and hear how we handled it and take and leave whatever they wish.
For sure. So let's talk about the first big issue for today, which is that the college that we are ending up at or the college we're attending is by no means an indicator of our self-worth. And yes, we know that we've heard this a million times, but it can feel very impersonal or disingenuous when it comes from a college that denied you or when it comes from a parent or a teacher. So we're here to tell it to you straight up as fellow seniors. How it is that our college decisions, they're not indications of our high school lives, right? We've spent hours and hours doing the things we love, whether it's sports or music, other club activities, and we want to emphasize that the things that we've learned and the opportunities we've had and the experiences we've made don't change because we don't get into a college, right? What's so much more important to our identity and who we are as people are the experiences that we've had throughout high school, and that doesn't change whether or not you get into a college. So I wanted to open up the floor to talk about this idea because I know self-worth is a huge hitting topic when it comes to college admissions. Comparing ourselves to others. What do we think about that?
Personally, I think when I got my first rejection, I got 2 rejections in the same day. I was rejected from Berkeley and Boston College. And frankly, I didn't even really want to go to those schools. And I cried really hard about that, which I think funny. Like now I think I laugh about that because I didn't even want to go to those schools, but just the fact that I was rejected was really upsetting. And I think especially coming from a really academically competitive and driven school where it feels like you're close, but sometimes it's like, ooh, I'm not doing what you're doing. And if I'm not doing what you're doing, then I have to be better. And I have to one up you in a sense. Just not getting into top schools made me feel awful in a sense. But I think what you have to realize is your college decision or wherever you end up going is where you're going to spend your next 4 years. So you really have to choose a place that is where you feel at home, where you feel like you're going to strive and thrive and make lifetime memories and have experiences that will be, I guess, beneficial to you. So just because you didn't get into that Ivy, or maybe you didn't get into where your friend didn't get into, it's really up to where you feel most comfortable with. So I think even if you didn't get into the Ivy, it really doesn't depend on your stats, because what is 250 words going to say about you? They never met you in person. They just read your words. They've never seen a picture of you. So I think it's just really biased in the whole process.
For me, at least, it was I know it's easy to hear like a million times from adults, from friends, advisors, that you shouldn't take these rejections personally and all of that, and any decision isn't necessarily the call. It's nothing to be taken personally. But I found that really hard to, like, it didn't really settle and it didn't really register, even though I was told that a million times, just because the nature of the college like application process is like its own beast. Like and it's the first time you're really putting all of your life accomplishments into one document, into one, like you're putting your entire identity onto a sheet of paper, which is just a surreal feeling. So it's just, there are a million different factors that go into it. So when people say don't take it personally, like, just hear them out and try to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, as like, even as a junior, and knowing that I have to apply in the next couple months, the thing that's keeping me really grounded is knowing that like these people don't really know who you are. You can give them as much as you can through your personal statements and your PIQs, but that's only going to push you so far. And your transcript, as scary as it is, like, it doesn't exactly define you. They don't see that, oh, this dip in your grades in sophomore year, they're not going to know that that was because you had family issues or mental health problems. And that still doesn't define you just because you don't have a 4.7 like somebody else at your school. I think it's really important, at least for me, I've known that, really knowing that like my path is my path and people at my school may take other paths. And just because they get into UCLA or other Ivy Leagues doesn't mean that whatever school that I choose is going to be any less valuable. And I also think it's really important that, like you said, schools, Ivy Leagues and stuff, that yes, it's great, but it's all your path. And I think schools, especially at Redondo, the idea of like community college is always like seen as this bad thing. But in reality, I think it's a really great choice for a lot of people. And I think that stigmatism around like a gap year or choosing community colleges over 4 years right away, it's again based on everyone's own path and what you have thrown at you and what you can give to colleges, and what they give back to you is not like a reflection of you as a person.
So much of admissions is completely out of your control. You could have done everything you needed to or wanted to, or put yourself out on the table, and it all comes down to the person, the admissions person, who's like, oh, this person could definitely see here and this person I couldn't. But every person has a different opinion when it comes to seeing who can go to their college. So much of it is just out of your control. And I know it's difficult, but you have to find a way to differentiate yourself from their choice. That's actually what decides for you in the end.
I want to emphasize that we understand that everything in the admissions process feels so deeply personal, like what Lily said. When people's like, it's not about you, it's not indication of who you are. It's so hard to actually internalize that, because your essays, you write about your passions, your interests, your personality, everything that you think defines who you are as a person, you write on your essays. And when they reject you, like what Lily and Amanda said, it feels like they rejected who you are as a person, which is why these rejections are so hard, even if you don't like the school. The college admission system just throws so much at you, and you're expected to internalize it and then give them a product that they like, whether that is a true reflection of who you are as a person, which is why it's so confusing and a process that makes you question yourself and question your worth.
I guess I just want to start off by saying that I know the process is really rough as a whole, but for me personally, it actually went a lot better than I thought it would. And I think for me, that was because the summer before senior year, I started researching as many colleges and universities as I could, and seeing what I was looking for, or certain things that I thought were really important, and things like that. And I think one of the biggest things for me that really helped was just writing it down, getting a draft down, because I know a lot of people talking to me were like, I don't know what to write about for like a personal statement, or how do I put like my whole soul into these 250 word essays, and it can be really hard to choose. And I would just say, like, get a draft down, because to me, most of the like development is in the editing process. So once you just get a draft down, I think it just helps, because then you can slowly kind of work your way down from there. And I know that for me, one thing that also helped was definitely taking breaks. I think, deadlines are really, really stressful, especially trying to balance senior year and the college deadlines. So taking breaks is necessary, and it's important. And I think especially with, around the holidays, it's really stressful because everyone's trying to get it in, but then celebrate with family. And at least for me, one of the really hard things was when family's like, oh, where are you applying? Or what are you majoring in? Or all this stressful stuff. And it's like, it can be a lot to balance. So definitely taking those breaks is very necessary. And then one thing that I also think is super important is to not short oneself of opportunities. And so what I mean by that is a lot of people look at acceptance rates and they'll be like, oh, it's like a 14% acceptance rate, I'm not going to apply. Like, there's no way I'm going to get in. And I personally don't think that that should define whether or not you apply or not. I think because it's so random, that can be seen as an opportunity to apply wherever you want, even if you're slightly interested in it, because you never know, you could be that one person who gets in. I personally would say, even if you don't think you're going to get it, I think it's still worth a shot, especially if you're really interested in it, because I would hate for you to say no to yourself before someone else does. Like, let them say no versus you saying no to yourself. You have to trust the process that you'll end up where you need to be. And it's a big decision. However, it is one decision in your life. And I think that, you can make the most out of wherever you go.
I completely agree with Logan about just the acceptance rates are just what you see on Google is just not the accurate. It's just not accurate. And for me personally, I was really, really disheartened because I didn't know where I wanted to go and I didn't do any research. So when it was time to apply, I just applied to like 10 random schools where I didn't really research. And I think that's my biggest flaw is I wish I researched more. If I had any piece of advice, it's just like, it's going to get really stressful. Just keep your head on straight and like, just know what you want. And if you don't know, that's okay too. Like anything and everything is okay. And definitely put yourself out there. And it's just definitely like putting yourself out there, I think is just really, really important, especially when you're trying to find roommates or when you're trying to like even applying to colleges too. It is a way of putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. Getting rejected isn't the end of the world. And there's so many more schools that want you.
We just want to tell you that everything is going to be okay, that there is a place for all of us, and that, all the seniors right now, we can finally, well, unless we're still deciding, but, deciding is always better than having no options. We can take a sort of a breath of fresh air because we've made it through. And the juniors, I know it's like a very stressful time, but you all will make it through as well. And, just today, going over the main points that we discussed, which is that we want to emphasize going to a certain college does not have any indication on your worth as a person. And that there are just so many flaws and uncontrollable factors in the college admissions process that should put our decisions into perspective, because they aren't one-to-one reflections on our merit or our intellect or whatever. And to all the listeners, particularly fellow seniors, rising seniors, it's a tough process, but you'll get through it. Everyone else is going through the same anxieties, fears as you are, so you're definitely not alone. And if you ever need, more help, I think we're always updating our teen page on the South Bay Families Connected website. And there are tons of resources that we want you all to have free access to about a variety of mental health issues. And college admissions is definitely one that we'll be continuing to explore.
I've had a stressful last couple of years, and I think just talking about how stressful it is and the fact that stressing out and what Reese said about all of us having anxiety, like that's a normal thing. So don't think that you're out of the ordinary or there's something wrong with you if you're having a really hard time. I think it's worth talking about no matter how serious you think it may be. I think talking about it with your friends, keeping it open, is really, really the way to go. And be true to yourself, like, and be confident in your decision making. And as long as you stay true to yourself and take the time to really think about what you want and what's important to you and your values, whatever path you go down is your path. And yes, there's no wrong decision you can really make. Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening today. I hope you valued our insight, and we definitely enjoyed discussing this because it's a topic that's been on all of our minds. We'll see you all soon for the next episode.